Hi guys, Namaste, Adab, good evening. My name is Stutee Ghosh. We're streaming live from my page, and this evening we've all come together to celebrate the memory of a great artist. Irrfan's passing away has, of course, left a deep void in the cinema world. And we're very glad we've managed to put together this e-gathering of friends and admirers. These are people who have worked closely with Irrfan, who will share the special memories they had with him, because frankly, like they say, there is really no one quite like Irrfan. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce my co-moderator for the evening. We have Saibal Chatterjee. He's a national award-winning film critic and journalist. Hi, Saibal. Thank you for being here. Next, we have Tisca Chopra. You know, for my panelists today, if I just say that they don't need an introduction, I can actually get away with it. Tisca has been part of such amazing films. She was with Irrfan in Qissa. Thank you for being here today, Tisca.
Thank you, Stutee. Thank you, Saibal.
And next we have Tillotama Shome. Tillotama has worked with Irrfan in a couple of films. She was in Hindi medium, she was in Angrezi medium, and of course, Qissa. Thank you, Tillotama.
Thank you for having me.
We have the rest of the Qissa team with us. So next we have Rasika Dugal. Hi, Rasika. Another well-known name and member of Team Qissa here today. We have Radhika Madan. Radhika started her filmy career with Mard Ko Dard Nahi Hota, and she, of course, worked with Irrfan in what turned out to be his last film, Angrezi medium. Thank you, Radhika.
Thank you so much.
We have Adil Hussain. Adil, veteran actor, screen actor, well-known theatre personality. Thank you, Adil. He worked with Irrfan in Life of Pi. Although they didn't have scenes together, but Adil has known Irrfan for a long time. Adil, we can't see you. Are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes. Thank you.
When I did a few things for television, and I must say very happily that other than the two films that we've done, I think 3 one-hour films for TV channels. So that work is there, and you know, at some point I will be very, very happy to share them with everyone. When I come to Irrfan, there are many things to say, but let me say something that I really believe deep down within me, and that is, in our time, you know, you meet lots of people, you work with a lot of people, and there are some here on this panel too, who do not belittle you as a human being. You know, when you speak to them, when they speak to you, they do not explain things to you. They do not try to tell you that, look, I am giving you something. They do not tell you that, look, there is something that you will not understand and I will try and explain it to you. And I think that is one of the great things about Irrfan as an actor, that he never used sentimentality or fake emotion to reach out to you. In fact, his attempt was never, ever to reach out to you. His attempt, I believe, was always to reach down deep into what makes all of us the human beings that we are, that we hide from ourselves, that we secretly, you know is very vulnerable, and we don't want too many people to see it. He cut through that, you know, and he said, it is our vulnerabilities, it is there, that deep sense of what we want to hide from the world, that makes us one. And to me, as a man, as a friend, as someone to work with, I think that is what made it very intimate, a relationship with him. And that is what I celebrate. And that, as an artist, I think is what really sets him apart from many, many others.
Yeah, absolutely. Stutee, now, I mean, you can...
It's very beautifully put Anup. It's sometimes difficult to negotiate grief, and his going away still is taking time to sink in. If I could ask all my panelists here how they would like to remember Irrfan. Adil, would you want to start?
I don't know where to start though, because I think I could start with the fact that Irrfan and we met, I can count maybe 3 or 4 times so far, and not in very intimate situations, but one night we met, which I'll come to that later. But what puzzled me and surprised me was the fact that I was so torn when I got the news over telephone from NDTV that certain words which came out from my mouth, which I did not expect would come out, because I was absolutely not close to him. And then it overwhelmed me for the whole day and the next day. And I had discussed with about this with my wife, that I was trying to understand, like decipher the emotions that I felt because of his passing away. And I was absolutely puzzled. Why am I feeling so overwhelmed? Which I absolutely really, because I was also, we most probably were aware of his severity of his illness. And but still, we did not expect him to leave so early. So I was talking to Kristen, my wife. So then I came up with this sort of an explanation to myself, that what Anup very beautifully put it, that he allowed each and every one of us an inroad into his secret chambers of intimacy, of vulnerability, of his neo-innocence that he found within himself as an artist, as he sort of dug himself within and allowed us, without any filter, to look through, and the transparency that he acquired and arrived at because of the craft or whatever he used, I have no idea, because we never spoke of acting with him. I never spoke. So that is almost like falling in love with a baby in the first sight. Like, no matter how, hardened a person you are, and you look at a baby, and especially if you are a sensitive type or maybe less sensitive, you fall in love with it. And he managed to sort of harness that innocence and that amazing transparency that we were allowed into his inner chambers, which Anup said that we secretly and severely guard otherwise in everyday life. But while he embodied the role in a wholesome way, that we had that access to his inner world. And that is absolutely priceless gift, I think, for an actor or for any artist to offer to the society. And as a member of the society, as a member of the audience of his work that I have seen, especially I fell in love with him first time when I saw him in Namesake, and then of course other films and Qissa. And that most probably was the reason why I felt the way I felt. And still, as I speak, I feel overwhelmed.
Oh, that's understandable. Radhika, I'd like you to come in at this point. You starting your career, you did a film with Irrfan. What was your first reaction when you got to know you've been offered this role and you'll be working with Irrfan?
I think I didn't believe it for the longest time. I think I believed it after I saw the trailer. So it was like on set also, it was like, okay, I believe that he's my father. That is it. I didn't see him as the Irrfan Khan. And
So
I think
was this the first time you met him? It was for this film, or you had met him earlier? This was also after he had come back from treatment. So how was it? How was it meeting?
I had met him like just for the film. I had not met him before, and I remember I was at Dinu's office. We were there for a reading, and he just came, and I was just meeting him for the first time, and I just looked at him, and I just said, "Hi, Papa." And he just smiled and he just hugged me and he was like, "Ye acha aap hai." Like he didn't treat me as a newcomer on set or otherwise. He respected me as a fellow artist. Like, I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting, you know, him to just guide me or just say कि अच्छा ऐसे करो वैसे करो. But no, he was like, okay, you're also an artist, so how do you see the scene? He respected my opinion, and it was such a big deal for me. Like I was like, Irrfan Khan is asking me how do I see the scene. That equality, that respect that he gave me, I just wanna. That is something that is always going to be with me, and I'm gonna make sure that I treat in my life everybody with the same respect and with the same equality in my eyes, and not to degrade the other person because the other person doesn't have experience. This is something that I'm always keep with myself.
That's such a valuable teaching, actually. Which are your favorite Irrfan performances, Radhika? You must have been a fan of his work before you worked with him. So, which are the films that are very special to you?
I loved his performance in Maqbool. I was blown by his performance in Maqbool. And yeah, that is something, the last scene with Tabu ma'am and him, it's something that will always stay with me. Such fine performances in Pan Singh Tomar. But yeah, Maqbool will have to be my favorite.
Thank you, Radhika. Saibal?
Yeah, so no, I think all of you will now need to tell us what memory, what will you remember Irrfan for? I mean, individually, Tisca, Tillotama, Rasika, and then we'll get into the more finer details of working with him on Kissa and other films. So, Tisca, you go first. So what is it that you will remember forever till the end of time?
This was early 2000. I had done a couple of Hindi films, and I wasn't very certain that was the kind of world I wanted to inhabit. The movies were very, very, very bad, and I was feeling kind of trapped with the choice that I had made. And at that point, Tishu cast me in a star bestseller that had me playing Irrfan's wife. It was a piece of work called Ek Shaam Ki Mulaqat that is on YouTube if anybody wants to see it. It's quite a nice piece of work. So this was like a 45-minute film, and we did this shoot, and the first couple of days he was, a little standoffish, and by the second or third day, I think we shot for 5 days, and by the second or third day, he started warming up, and we shared a cigarette together, and that broke the ice. And then he said, "Abhi kya karna hai?" So I told him, "Mere ko acting nahi karni hai." Aur he just whipped around and turned and looked at me, and he told Tishu, "Tigmanshu, देख एक्टिंग छोड़ रही है, गट्स चाहिए, गट्स एक्टिंग करने के लिए, ऐसे नहीं होता है, गट्स चाहिए, गट्स है तेरे में, गट्स नहीं है ना, गट्स नहीं गट्स नहीं है तेरे अंदर, गट्स नहीं है तो छोड़ दे, क्यों कर रही है, नहीं करना, नहीं कर सकती." पंजाबी बोलती है अपने आप को, एक्टिंग करेगी, क्या एक्टिंग करेगी, तो छोड़ दे, छोड़ क्यों नहीं देती है? I was like, why is he jumping on me like this? Like this is like, what is he doing? And then the whole day and the next 2 days, like the third day, the fourth day, and the fifth day, he was at me. Like every corner I turned, wherever it was, scene ke beech mein, in the gaps, he would turn around and say, तो क्या है इसमें क्या है, छोड़ दे, क्या फर्क पड़ता है, लोग छोड़ देते हैं, चले जाते हैं, हिम्मत नहीं होती, हर किसी में थोड़ी ना होती है. I was like, why is he provoking me like this? Like, why is he getting under my skin in this way? He just was relentless. And in the period since then, I've thought about it a good many times. I think he understood people in a way that perhaps we don't even understand ourselves. Or there was this like insight he had, and he like sort of made a kind of a he perceived you, and when he perceived you, he saw that there was a way to if he had praised me or complimented me, I probably would have been like, yeah, whatever, it's not important. But because he provoked me, I was determined to then not give up. And I can honestly say that I, in my head, consider that to be my first real piece of acting work. And by the end of it, we became friends, and we were talking and all of that. And then he would say, he opened the boot of his car, and there was a bar. He had a green Honda City, and there was a bar in the car. He opened that, and he said, Raja.
The classic Karo bar, huh?
And so he said, "Ek drink pile chal." And I said, "Ma'am, मैं नहीं पीती." He looked at me like this and, "दारू नहीं पीती? तू दारू नहीं पीती? सिगरेट पीती? दारू नहीं पीती? तू दारू क्यों नहीं पीती? तू दारू क्यों नहीं पीती?" And I was like, okay, he started. And that started a kind of a relationship where he was constantly, over the years, provoking me, constantly. And I think he lit a fire, which it's so difficult to like say this after his like passing. I'm even more determined that which he started should not be finished, because he gave me the DVD of Fargo the film, and then he gave me the DVD of Bullets Over Broadway, and then he called me and he said, "देखी तो नहीं होगी तूने? देखी है? नहीं देखी होगी ना? तूने देखी नहीं? देखी तो नहीं ना? तूने देख ली? एक ही बार देखी है, बस हो गया, सब सीख गई, सब पता चल गया तेरे को एक्टिंग के बारे में." I was like, ये मेरी जान नहीं छोड़ेगा, ये मेरी जान खाता है. So he was like that, and he was I think what he was, because he was the first sort of the tip of the diamond nib that cut through the kind of Hindi films that were being made in the 90s. He was the first person who was doing that. He wanted comrades. He wanted people who believed in the craft, who believed in like a certain kind of naturalistic kind of a performance, not that outward acting kind of thing. So he was absolutely certain that he was not going to let go of anybody who was what he thought in that same school of thinking or in that world. And he would do whatever it would take. So one day, without telling me, he arrived at my house and said, "एक DVD लेके आया हूँ, अभी आई अमेरिका से, देखेगी?" So I said, "हाँ." Said, "Which one is it?" So he said, "Once Upon a Time in America, the Sergio Leone film." And he said, "साथ बैठ के देखेंगे, हाँ? दारू पिएगी?" And I cannot get over that. These past few days, that's what's been playing in my head on a loop. And then we didn't work for many years together, and then Kissa happened. But that's my first encounter with Irrfan.
Beautiful. Tillotama, Rasika?
Tillotama.
I met Irrfan. I have done 1, 2, 3,
4.
I think 3 or 4 one scenes with Irrfan. And the first one was I want to say 2002. It was a film called Shadows of Time. I was really in the midst of doing studying for my MA English literature, and doing a film was really a luxury. So between takes, I was always reading some 300 plus page book because I was always trying to finish my coursework. And Irrfan, would come and say, "Hi, Tillotama, I'm Irrfan." I say, "Yes, of course. Hi. You want to chat?" And I would say, "No, actually, I have to study a lot." Say, "What are you studying?" I said, "For my MA." Okay, next day, "Hi, Tillotama, you want to have a chat?" And I'd be like, "I have to study." I really regret studying so much and not talking to Irrfan. I really regret it. But I was constantly reading, and finally, he said, "I have only a few days of shoot left, so I want to tell you something, but you're not giving me any time to talk. You just worked with Meera Nair, no?" I was like, "Yeah." he was like, okay, I have worked with her some 13, 14 years ago. She's not worked with me again since then. Will you write to her and tell her to work with me? So I said, actually, I don't know her very, like, okay, and of course, I will write to her. I said, which email address do you have? So I was like, I'll have to check. Next day I showed him, he said, oh, this is not the email I have. She's given me some other email. So I wrote to Meera saying that it's hilarious that, that Irrfan, I met Irrfan and he wants to work with you. And years passed. I never met Irrfan after that. And years passed and he worked with Meera, extraordinary namesake, and I was, working in New York then. I finished studying and I saw the film in New York. And I remember that phone call that Tabu gets about losing a parent. And I came out of the movie hall and I realized that my love affair with New York was over. I had to go back home. I didn't want to get a phone call with this kind of news and then take a 16-hour flight, go back and leave one parent and come back. And I was done. I went to work the next day. I put in my papers and my boss said, why are you quitting? I said, I just missing my parents. I just want to go back home. It's done. I'm done. He said, what happened? I said, I saw a film. He said, you can't leave a job because of a film. That's just a purely emotional response. I said, no, well, it's not just the film. I've thought about it. And my boss went and saw the film that day and he came back and he said, please go home. I said, what happened? He said, no, I saw the film. And a few weeks later, Irrfan, Tabu and Meera were doing a talk at Lincoln Center about Namesake. I found out about it and I went. I've met Irrfan for those few days, never again after, and it was mesmerizing. Their interview was mesmerizing. And then the light comes on for the Q&A session. And it's like, 3,000, 4,000 people and the audience is lit up. The questions have started. And in that dimly lit thing, he said, Tillotama, is that you? And tumne apne baal kaate hue hai? Tu hi hai? And I was like, how? We've just met for a few days, of which I never spoke to you at all, and he said, baad mein aana, green room piche hai, yahan direction batao, usko bhejo, and all from the stage, and I met him. I went back to meet him. We talked something about the film, and then he just looked at me and said, so, love affair with New York over, going back home. And I was like, come on, man, how do you know this? And it's really what Tisca said, he has this ability to see something in you that you yourself have just either not discovered yet, or, I told him, I don't understand how you are saying this. He said, it's all over you. You're not happy here. It's time for you to go back. I said, I just quit my job yesterday. Literally I'm serving my notice period. And but that's Irrfan. I've had 2 more meetings with him, which are like that, where he has, I wouldn't be presumptuous. It would be too presumptuous of me to say he's a friend. But yet, there have been 4 occasions where he has seen through me in a way that only very intimate friends can. So that is something that will spook me about him. It doesn't help that he, we were part of a film where he plays a ghost, and thanks to Anup. But he will spook me because of this ability to see through you. Yeah.
I haven't enjoyed staying quiet ever so much as today. Rasika, we want to hear from you.
So when we started shooting for Kissa, there was this one scene. There were about 2-3 scenes after the film gets into a very magic realism space, which when I read at the script level, I was like, ye kaise karungi, mujhe nahi aata. So, I tried to have some conversations with Anup about it, but Anup recited a poem, gave me a song to listen to. That happened. So I was like, ye sab to bahut acha hai, lekin karna kya hai? Ye bata do. But of course, Anup does not direct like that, so I didn't get any kya karna hai type of answers to that. And I was very, very nervous about what's going to happen in those scenes. And Kissa was a very, very important film for me for several reasons. But one of those reasons was that I hadn't had any work for a very long time, and I was just dying to do my best, you know. And I remember I used to make copious notes before I shot a scene, and many, many notes after I came back, just to sort of deal with what I was feeling, because I just wanted to make sure. I was very anxious about everything that I just wanted it to be perfect in every way. You know, I didn't want to feel like I had left any stone unturned. So we'd been shooting for a few days. I think it might have been a month and a half, or I think it was a month before we got to this scene, which was my last scene in the film. And I think it's the second last scene of the film, where Neeli walks away from Irrfan's character and then sits on the ledge. And so that was just, so we were shooting that scene, and it was a very important scene for me, and it was the last scene for Neeli in the film, and I just wanted it to be the best ever. I was like, ye to acha hi hona chahiye. And uske pehle jo scenes hue the, they'd gone very well. So I was full of anxiety that this has to be the best performance I've ever done in my life. So we were shooting that scene and we shot it. And Kissa was not a very big budget film, so we were strapped for time all the time. And, you know, I mean, asking for another take was like, there's money, you're losing money. And there were German producers who were getting so worried about things out of schedule, even by a couple of hours. So shoot kar liya scene, but कुछ मुझे लगा नहीं कि सीन में कुछ मैजिक था. जैसे उसके पहले जो हुआ था, it was so beautiful, and I felt this had to, the scene that was before this had been shot, and it was very nice, and I felt this had to sort of, you know, take that further, and it was the end of the film, and it had to be nice and beautiful and magical and everything. And I was very disappointed, because I felt from Anup also that he was not very happy with the scene. He was okay with it, but it wasn't like the scenes we'd done before. So I was very desperate, and I really wanted to make it work. So I went and sat next to, and Anup was in the middle of getting into the next scene, and some props had been asked for which hadn't reached, and there was chaos, and he was negotiating all of that. So I couldn't go to him and sort of add my own anxiety and pressure onto him. So I saw Irrfan sitting on, we were shooting on a terrace, and he was sitting on this chota sa ledge and rolling a cigarette. So I went and sat next to him, and I just looked at him in extreme desperation, because I was like, please, meri madad karo. I didn't say anything, but I just looked at him like, please, just like make it work, you know more than me. Can you just do this, you know? So he turned around and he looked at me, and he shrugged his shoulders and said, And it was the kind of which was, you know, not making fun of me, but understanding what I'm going through, but saying that, you know, I know what you're going through, but I can't help you because I don't know how to help you. So it was, and I was like, oh my God, he's not going to help me now. What do we do? Anyway, ho gaya, scene khatam hua. I went back, made my notes, put myself in my notes. It's okay. There will be another chance. Anup will edit it well. He knows what he's doing. Irrfan will hold the scene. All that I told myself. And about 3-4 days later, Anup gave me a call. My husband was in town. He'd come to meet me, and it was my day off. And I had gone to watch a film with him, and I was on my way back. And we were shooting in Chandigarh. So we'd been shooting for a month. So he'd come to meet me. And Anup said, you know, I'm sorry to disturb you on your day off, but would you mind if we shoot again tomorrow and we reshoot that scene? I was like, do you mind? I would die to reshoot that scene. So I went back. I said, Anup, but if you're reshooting the scene, and reshooting a scene was a very big thing on that film. I said, Anup, if you're reshooting the scene, you have to tell me what I did wrong, and we have to get it right. So full of anxiety, again, I went to Anup's room, and Anup said, it's okay, just turn up tomorrow. It's fine. I was like, no, you tell me, what do I have to think? What do I have to do? He's like, no, just turn up tomorrow. Okay. So
that's so cool. Anyway, go ahead.
So I went the next day, and then I looked at Irrfan before the scene started, again in desperation, like, you have to make this work because I don't know what I have to do differently to get this done. And the scene starts with both of us sitting near a darwaza, which is a photo that I put up recently on Instagram. And I don't know how, if I hadn't seen that, I found it on Anup's Facebook actually, because I was going down all the photos a day after Irrfan passed away. So I saw that photo, and the scene starts there. And I don't know what happened, but Irrfan just held my hand before starting the scene, just like his hand on my hand. And I think Anup took a shot of that also later. And it just transformed the scene completely. And we did about 8 takes because it was slightly complicated for camera work. Like I had to get up and I had to sit down, and then I had to turn around and walk away. And there was a track and all of that. So technicality ke liye we had taken about 8 takes, and each one of those 8 takes was, I think, the most magical experiences that I have ever had in the time between action and cut. And I can never ever forget that. And I was so grateful for that. I've had it a couple of times again here and there in different films, but not with the intensity of that one. And that was the first time also. And I didn't know that there could be anything like this in the life of an actor. It was just so beautiful and so magical. And every time I met Irrfan after that, I wanted to sort of know if he remembered the power of that moment or not. It was important for me because I was like, मैं ही इसको इतना बड़ा बना के बैठी हुई हूँ और किसी को कुछ समझ नहीं आया और किसी ने कुछ experience नहीं किया. I have only made this big thing in my head and I'm sitting with this memory. It was a beautiful memory, and whether it was true or not, I don't care. It was still lovely to live with. But somehow I wanted to know whether he experienced that or not, And I'm shy about these things, so I find it difficult to talk to people about things like this. So I could never, and I was always slightly intimidated by Irrfan. So I could never bring it up again with him. And I also always felt that he's got so many films and so many projects, and he must have interacted with so many other actors in such a beautiful way. I have not done so much work after Kissa, and I didn't have much work between Kissa and Manto, So I was like, इसलिए ये memory मेरे लिए इतनी important है, लेकिन शायद इरफान के लिए नहीं होगी. लेकिन I really wanted to know whether he remembered or not. But कभी हिम्मत नहीं हुई तो मैंने पूछा नहीं. Kissa ki screening, this was in 2012, and Kissa, when it released in 2015, there was a screening at the Light Fox. And I remember after the screening, we were standing next to car or Tishu's car, and there were other people around. And Irrfan was rolling a cigarette, and I was standing in front, and he said, तुमने तो बहुत अच्छा काम किया फिल्म में. I was like, इतनी बार फिल्म देखी है. We had watched the film about 15 times by then. I was like, अब ये बोल रहे मेरे को, पहले नहीं ये बोल सकते थे. So he's like, तुमने तो बहुत अच्छा काम किया. Then he looked at me and he said, उस दिन हम लोग के बीच में कुछ हुआ था ना. So I just felt so happy that, that he had remembered after all these years. That means it would have been as powerful for him as it was for me. So,
Anup, taking off from what Rasika just said, if I understood her right, you are not a control freak during a shoot. You let the actors be in the moment. I mean, is that right? Or I mean, but there is, again, from the critics' point of view, there's an amazing degree of rigor in your films. I mean, both Kissa and the Song of Scorpions. So how much leeway would Irrfan have had to improvise? I mean, he had this improvisational style. So did you just let him go and do his own thing, or were there meetings that you had with him before before the camera rolled?
I think for me, and I think those are some of the things that brought Irrfan and me together. I think the music of a performance is very, very important, in the sense that the rhythm is very important. And I think with all my actors, I'm very, very keen that they find the rhythm within the space in which they are performing. And that rhythm is what we really work towards, and I work towards. And once I feel that they are there, I know that they are all extraordinary actors, and they'll all dig deep within themselves. And will make that rhythm alive and vibrant. So in a sense, yes, I am a bit of a control freak in terms of what you do in the space, but what you do inside yourself is something that I would like you to go your own way. I might give you some music, as Rasika said, I might give you a little poem, I might give you a little direction, but really, I love my actors, I trust them, and I work a great deal with them before the film so that we understand each other somewhere beyond politeness. And then when we're on set, I trust them immensely, and I would like them to find themselves, really. And that's the thing with Irrfan. I think, again, one of the things that makes Irrfan the extraordinary actor he is that when he thought about improvisation, for example, it is very different from how some of the other actors that I worked with think about improvisation. He thought about improvising on himself as a human being. He did not think of himself as someone who is complete. He did not think of himself as someone who was Irrfan Khan, the actor. He did not think of himself as Irrfan Khan, a person whom he understood and would always project. To himself, he was always unknown. To himself, he was always, many things and many people. So when he started to improvise on a set or even at home, his quest, if you like, was to find out, what are my possibilities? Is this all that I am as a human being? Not as an actor, not as a character, but is this what I am as a human being? And then he would go further. He would go into, what are the possibilities of being a human being? What are our limits? And what is our boundlessness? Because he thought of himself performing in the world, performing on this earth, like coming to life, like being born into this earth, is here where we perform not something that we know, but we perform our life. And he wanted to find out for himself, what is my life? Who am I? What is it that makes me? That is the performance that he then brought to cinema. And that is why we love him so much, because he is he's showing us again and again that we are all much more than what we believe we are. That we all have more capacities than what we think we do. That we are much more as human beings than what we think we are. Let me give you one example, where perhaps this comes across. I could give you many examples, actually. But this is the one where I saw it concretely in front of me. We were shooting, and I had a small break. He was not in that shot. I came out of the spot where we were shooting, and he was half in the field, half on the terrace. And he was alone, and I was behind him, and I was going to call him, and then I heard him sort of singing. And I stopped, because he has a beautiful voice, and when he's singing just for himself, it's just wonderful to listen to him. So I stopped at the doorway, and I was listening to him, and I said, what is he singing? What is this humming that he's doing? And I realized that he was actually humming the dialogue of the film, the scene that we were going to shoot next, that he was actually humming the dialogue, and he was singing it, and he would improvise with it. He would go with it this way, he would sing it this way, he would hum it deep within himself. And he's not a man of great movement. All right, at least not in my film. In my films, he doesn't move so much. But with the humming, when he moves just a little bit, I thought there was something happening, that he was allowing the humming to move his body, that something in the humming vibrated inside him, and that gave his body its own little fluxions, little ripples. And I listened to him for a while, and then I said, Irfan, ye kya ga rahe ho tum? He said, tumhara dialogue hai, Anup. We didn't talk about it. And that was one of the things about Irfan and me, that somehow we seem to understand each other completely. We didn't have to discuss things. I don't think we ever talked about acting. I don't think so. I don't remember ever talking to him about acting. We would talk about music. We would talk about something that we saw. We would talk about Nusrat Ali Fateh Khan. We would talk about everything. We would talk about Heidegger. We would talk about the Sufis. But I don't think we ever spoke about. He would ask me, like he did with Tisca, that, did you see this film? And from a little nod of my head or a movement of my hand, you'd say, okay, I see what you mean. All right. And we would understand each other in that way. We never really discussed things. But here, sorry.
No, carry on.
But here, what I seem to understand from him is that by humming the dialogue, by singing the dialogue, he was not worried about how he was going to play it. He was not worried about how he was going to perform it. He was only concerned about what this dialogue did to him as a spirit and as a body. He wanted whatever was in the world, a tree, a leaf, a dress, a face, a co-actor, not something that he would want to control and mold and make into a relationship, But it's almost as though he would relate to all these things and take them within himself and say, what do they give me? What can I give to them? How can we make this moment a moment of life? All right. And when I think about this future, will it tell me that I've lived my life fully? I think that was his approach to acting. That was his approach to living. Are we worthwhile in this life? Are we worthwhile? And how do we make ourselves worthwhile? That was Irrfan to me.
So there's a small aside. In Toronto, after the screening of Qissa, I had interviewed you, and Irrfan was also there. And you had told me and a couple of other journalists that Irrfan he was a bit reluctant to do Qissa because it would take an emotional toll on him. And then you shared a Kabir couplet with him, which on reading that, he sort of changed his mind. So do you remember what couplet that was? And
well, actually, it wasn't Kabir. I think maybe we are making a mistake here. When I approached him for Qissa, he said, no, Anup, I can't do it, really. It's too dark a film. And I'm not in that state in my life at this moment. I don't want to do it. So, I said, okay. And obviously I was heartbroken. And I left, and I thought to myself that, what did he say? He said, it's too dark. I went back to him next day. And I said, Irrfan, both you and I, we love the music of Nusrat Ali Fateh Khan. Okay. And I said, when you see Nusrat singing, you see all that distortion that happens on his face. It is such. Sometimes he looks, really as though he's been violated. That is the kind of horrendous twisting of the face. And yet I said, when you listen to the voice, it is one of the most beautiful voices in the world. I said, Irrfan, this is the film I want to make, not this horrendous violence that you are looking at, but the beauty of the music, which you and I both know, emerges from within it. And that is what people will remember. So he looked at me for a second or so. He said, chalo, karte hain, chalo.
As well, again, a song or a poem. I want to come to the actors on the panel. When we posted about this event, there were lots of reactions. Everyone was very excited. And there was one particular comment where this gentleman had coined a term and called it Irfaniyat. Something so unique about Irrfan, and from the little anecdotes that all of you have shared, that has clearly come out. Adil, starting with you, as an actor, of course, being a perfectionist, being a great actor is one thing, but when you're collaborating, that synergy that you share is what lifts up a scene. Like Rasika so beautifully put it up, it just makes it something else. As an actor, what is it that you find so special in Irrfan?
Most of it, what Anup said, actually, I think if I have to rephrase that from my perspective, would be that I can maybe one thing that I had been searching will help me to articulate it. It's very difficult. Like I was devastated, and I almost left acting in 1995 because I was asked to play this role of Mephistopheles, which I did. And my director gave me a clue that I said, I don't know why you have cast me as Mephistopheles. Do you think I'm so bad? I was like, he said, no, you are the opposite. You are in nursing. You are very nursing. You look after people. So I want you to explore the other side. So so he gave me one sentence clue. He said, start enjoying cruel things from now. And we were stationed near a cremation ground in Orissa. In a village, and I played the role. It became, people loved it, and this is the first time I got a big role in NSD. Generally, people from Northeast, those who are not from Hindi-speaking belt, they are given very small roles in those days, especially. And then I asked myself that, do I have to deteriorate as a human being in order to be a better actor? So that sort of haunted me for next 4 years, and I traveled on my motorbike for 4 years and trying to find people to ask questions, people in a sense, those who can answer my questions. So I ended up in Pondicherry of a teacher to a teacher of mine who is an ashramite in Aurobindo Ashram. And so he gave me a book. I'm not going into details of that, but coming to the gist, that he just asked me that, what are the things that you have learned so far in NSD that was giving you such horrible, perception about acting? So anyway, so coming to what came to me is that these 5 W's that Stanislavski asks you to ask as an actor, who, where, when, what, and why. And so I extended those questions in my life, that if I answer these questions in a given circumstance, who, where, when, what, why, if I act better, wouldn't I act better in everyday life if I ask the same questions? So who would answer this question? Who am I? It's a big question. What Anup just said while talking about Irrfan, that who am I? Where am I? Now this where could be, manifold. I'm not talking about the geographical space, but in an emotional space, in a mental space, in my intellectual space, in my, in a political space, and time-wise, in a cosmic space. So why, where, and then when, the time itself. So all those things why am I doing what am I doing? That question led me to read Gita, when Krishna is asking Arjuna that, what is your intent behind the war? Why are you doing what you are doing? And then he leads Arjun to ask that question, that what is your intent? Why are you doing what you're doing? Is it because that someone was... So from the pettiness, he takes him to a larger space within, that if you operate from unconditional love, then you will incur karma, but you will not incur karma in your next life, whatever it is. But you have to operate from unconditional love. So what I see in Irrfan saying all this, that what Anup said it so beautifully, that he had been in the quest of finding who he was and the possibilities of a human, of becoming a human being toward the fullest potential. And I think that anybody who acted with him shared screen space and scene, which I was not lucky enough to do that, in spite of acting in one film, maybe two films actually. I attempted to get in touch with him twice, but for some reason, circumstances were such that, except for one night that I said I will mention later, Ang Lee, Irrfan, Shutapa, Ang Lee's assistant, Suraj, and I were running around in the middle of the night in Bombay to find some dinner. And I saw him then the first time, that the childlike quality. He said, Adil, yaar, ek photo le lena, photo ek le lete hain na, acha lag raha hai na, acha lag raha hai. In his typical way. So I just found those photos like few days ago. And I'm like, oh, this is the photo I took. So I saw his childlike, behavior, which was beautiful to see. And though he didn't know me, I mean, we hardly spoke, but there was a certain kind of camaraderie, affinity, affection, which I felt from him, which I am not expecting, because we haven't really. So that is, I think that is a sthai bhava in him, the curiosity in order to unfold himself, unpeel and go deeper, as Anup mentioned. And that keeps, and also this is what I have learned, that I identify what Anup said, that the unfolding of oneself, the intense curiosity to know at all times, not only while you are performing, but as you live life. You cannot suddenly start practicing curiosity when you are in a given space, because that's the most difficult thing to practice, unless you have harnessed it, harvested it, nourished it, looked after it, and that infiltrates in your work. If one cannot hide oneself in front of the camera, in front of the audience, unless, no matter what you are, it will come across. So I think that was his inner journey, and he's persistent, consistent with it. And as he said, it's not about the character. It's not, as Anup said, not about the character. It's not about the film. It's about the journey towards the inner core of who you are. That's what is so precious. And it is also, in the process, becomes a gift. And the deep empathy that it evoked in human beings who watched him. So yeah, that much I can say. I don't know if I made sense at all.
No, you absolutely did. You absolutely did. Tisca,
I had one question to Tisca. Well, you were talking about how you would constantly keep, running you down, sort of, have you seen this? So there's this
provoking.
So almost this adversarial thing that was happening. So when you went and did Kissa, where the relationship is also, in a sense, adversarial. I mean, husband, wife, but like not on the same page ever. I mean, did that help when you were doing the Kissa role with Irrfan?
When I first did Ek Shaam Ki Mulaqat, and then he produced another one, just to stand by what he had said. Shutapa wrote a bestseller, and he produced it, in which he had a very small role. He played what he called Manish Malhotra. And that's called Hum Saath Saath Hain Kya, also on YouTube for anybody who wants to see it. A very cute thing, also which Tishu directed. And he would come on set, and again he would harass me. He would find me in corners and he would harass me. क्या करिए? थिएटर करिए? थिएटर करिए? थिएटर करिए? क्या करिए? आजकल क्या करिए? And I would be like, ये क्या है? Then as I understood that he doesn't mean any offense by that, and that's just his way of sort of finding a way to relate. And I was coming out of obnoxious 90s, late 90s Bollywood. So, I think he was also trying to break that down and make it more normal and real and relate in a certain way. And so we were strange friends. So by the time we came around to Kissa, I was provoking him right back. And Tillotama and Rasika and Anup will remember that there was a mail that came from
Team Irrfan.
So there was this mail that said, the mail said, Tisca, Tillotama, Rasika, Anup, and Team Irrfan. I had such a go at him for that. I was like, so you're now Team Irrfan. You're not even going by your own name. You're going by Team Irrfan. So this relationship was like a back and forth. And he would constantly say things which he knew would get under my skin. He said, पति को लेके आ गई है कनाडा, क्यों आ गई है? अपना ड्राइवर क्यों साथ लेके आई है? हम नहीं है तेरे, देखो क्या प्रॉब्लम है? And he would harass me non-stop. And so I would harass him right back during Kissa, because I sort of evolved myself a little bit. And so he would wear this mustache during Kissa, and it would like take hours. So we'd be sitting next to each other in the makeup trailer getting ready. And वो सुबह 5, 5:30, 6 बजे in Punjab, and he'd be sitting, and उसका वो बाल and his दाढ़ी and mooch and everything would be like that Sardar look that he was doing. They were getting him into it. So then he would start with something. क्या दारू पीनी शुरू किया तूने कि नहीं? I said, it's 6 in the morning. Like, can you calm down? What's wrong with you? So then through the day I would tell him, dialogue तो याद नहीं है, मूंछों के पीछे छुप के बोलते रहते हो कुछ भी पंजाबी. ये कोई पंजाबी होती है? ऐसे बोलता है कोई पंजाबी? So we would harass each other, like say the worst and meanest of things to each other, and that was like sort of the kind of relationship. So I remember this one time, Tare Zameen Par came out, and so he met me, and I think that's the only nice thing he said to me in my whole life. He said, अच्छा काम किया. So he said, और क्या कर रही है? So I said, एक प्ले कर रही हूँ महात्मा वर्सेस गांधी. उसमें क्या रोल कर रही? So then I gave it back. I said, I'm playing Gandhi with big boobs. Okay, you're happy? So it was just that kind of relationship, which was constantly like
back and forth,
sparring with each other. But now and then, like once every 2 years or 2.5 years, he would text or call or say something, which like once he sent me 2 lines of like a poem, which I wish I'd saved. But that time I'd be thinking, अब इसका क्या मतलब है? Now he'll call me and say, तूने पढ़ी नहीं है poem, or he'll say something to me, तो मैंने ज़्यादा ध्यान नहीं दिया. But now I kind of feel that perhaps I should have minded better. Perhaps I should have spent more time with him and sparred with him some more. I miss my sparring friend.
Adorable. Tillotama, Rasika.
After Kissa, every interview, I hadn't gotten interviewed, so much. So like after Kissa, suddenly there would be calls for interviews, and everybody will get so excited. But the questions were all about Irrfan. Right? How was it working with Irrfan? What is Irrfan like on set? What does Irrfan eat? And I would find it like after some time, like, what to say? So I went to Irrfan only one day and I said, Irrfan, they keep asking me, what is Irrfan like? आप ही बता दो ना, मुझे समझ में ही नहीं आ रहा कि मैं क्या बताऊं. Because he's so, actually, the thing is, the more I got to spend time with him, he's just so enigmatic, and which is why I think, one is lucky to know him. But I think everyone, even those who haven't worked with him, his loss feels personal because I think, he's really operating from a sense of, deep humanity, which you don't need to know personally, and which you don't need to be, it's intimate enough for anyone. And so he said, तुम क्या बताओगी, मुझे अपने आप ही नहीं पता कि मैं कौन हूँ, तो तुम कुछ भी बोल दो. And I will later say that yes, I agree. So that was very freeing. Irrfan loves music because he told me Irrfan loves eating. I wasn't sure whether it was right or wrong, but Irrfan had given me the thing. Kuch bhi bata de yaar.
But it is right, Tilly. It's right. You remember when we were shooting for Kissa? I'm just gonna say this. Every place that we were shooting, and we moved shop quite often, the local sarpanch or whoever was there, they would get charmed by him, and they would be sending khana from their house to him, and he would be like, "Aja, aja, khale, jalebi, khale," and kebab, mazedar. And he would like constantly, Anup, you remember?
I do indeed.
Constantly,
Yes.
like potlis and dabbas, those aluminium dabbas and tiffins would come, and he would be like, he loved food. And the other thing which I just cannot get that out of my mind, Tilly, Rasika, both of you, just remember this. Tilly, you're in Rasika's room. That day, Rasika, when we were doing that scene where in the shop, there's a scene where there's this big arm of a crane, a big arm of the crane that comes into the shop, and the shop had a mirror on one side. So our movement was severely restricted on account of the fact that it could be seen in the camera, and we were shooting in the market. And the market was this Punjab market. And we had a German associate director, Florian, and he was losing his shit because he was trying to say, okay, lock set, and suddenly one Sardar would go past in a lime green Nike thing in 1930 of Punjab, of what Kissa was trying to show, and it would ruin the whole thing. And so he was virtually in tears, Florian, trying to lock this set. And there was pressure because it was a market, and they weren't permissions, and we were just trying to shoot guerrilla style, but there was this crane, and all of this was happening. And Irrfan and my character walk in with Rasika's character into the shop to buy her some jewelry. And because of the camera position, we had to turn a certain way so as to not be seen in the camera. And for all the great actor that he was, and of course I will continue sparring with him forever, so he couldn't turn the way that he was supposed to turn, and Anup was also losing it and whatever. And that night we met in Rasika and Tilly's room because no one else wanted to have a late night. Rasika was dying because she wanted to make her notes, copious stuff. She wanted to shoot and get up early in the morning. And Irrfan jammed his dera there. And he called Anup, and he called Pushpendra and a couple of other people. And Manchpreet, our dialogue coach. And he drank himself till he was red in the face. And he was hysterical, laughing. क्या एक्टर हुए, मेरे से टर्न ही नहीं हो रहा, इधर मुड़ जाओ उधर मुड़ जाओ, खड़े होके he was dancing and showing us के ऐसे मुड़ रहा हूँ, फिर ऐसे मुड़ रहा हूँ, फिर he was taking the piss out of himself. I don't think we can ever get over this scene with Rasika wanting everyone to get out of the room, Tillotama almost sleeping, Anup laughing, also slightly high, Irrfan pissed drunk, and me who doesn't drink at all, and observing all of this. It was the most unbelievable. I mean, I can remember this, and it's crazy. He was laughing till there were tears coming out of his eyes.
He was giggling.
He was giggling. His face was red, and he was like, acting ही नहीं आती, इधर से मुड़ रहा हूँ, उधर से मुड़ रहा हूँ, मुड़ना ही नहीं आ रहा, क्या हो रहा है? But he was not perturbed by that. And it was just so charming to see that, like, he was not judging himself badly. I would have probably like killed myself that night. But he was just laughing about it, and so was everyone else. So I think there was a sense of like not fun in the sense of just like haha fun, but like engaging all gears and funning in a deep way, which was like a zest for everything, which is just unbelievable. You remember that night, Anup?
I very much remember it, and it's something that Rasika and I also talked about it not very long ago. These are moments, I mean, these are these tremendous moments with him, which are unforgettable. I think one of the things about him is, you know, that he was ready to share on every level. I've seen him with you, I've seen him with the other actors, but I've also seen him with the lighting crew, you know, with Barkat Bhai and his crew. I've seen him with Pushpendra, you know, who's making these wonderful films now. I've seen him with assistant directors. I've seen him with makeup people. And with everyone, like I think we see it here, we all seem to recognize the man in some vague way, but for all of us, he's a little different, you know. There's always something else that each one of us sees in him and that we remember. I think that was the man that you can't ever put your finger on him as a man or as an actor and say, this is what he was. You know, we can only say, this is also what he was.
What he was.
Yeah.
In fact, you know, Anup, I remember once asking him about a particular scene in Kissa that like slyly trying to pretend like I understood the scene, but actually I didn't. I was hoping he would just shed some light on it without him knowing that actually I don't understand. I was like, if I like eating dinner and all, I was like, just pass this. And I was like, so that scene, what do you think about it? Like, how are you feeling? So he said, kya hua? Samajh mein nahi aa raha scene kya hai? I was like, what the hell? I was like, no, yeah. Actually, I think I'm a bit confused. And he said, I understood everything, but I'm not able to understand this. And he said, you know, it's the most beautiful scene. He said, it doesn't matter. Even I don't understand it. But you trust that Anup understands it, no? And I was like, yeah. So he was like, you know, we are very lucky as actors. He said, you're very lucky that you're getting to work with someone like Anup at such a young age. I was saying young, like rolling my eyes, but let it go. And he said that it's really nice when we do the scene, we'll understand it. And it's really nice to do something you don't understand, because in the doing of it, we may understand something about ourselves that we didn't know. And it's really changed the way I've looked at work itself, because there's sometimes so much pressure to, you know, like to understand a scene. And I felt that there is that freedom in him to not know everything, and you know, and that allow oneself to that surprise. And I mean, I think it's one of those things, like, you know, which he says in a very flippant way, I don't even know who I am, so what are you going to say about it? This scene, I don't understand it, you know, we'll figure it out in doing it. But I think it is that sense of fluidity about him that really attracted me to him, that it was a sense, his own sense of self, and his own, the way he perceived somebody else was not contained in some, you know, in a box, which is why it's so confusing for me. Because like, I know, I keep telling myself Kissa is a film. In that film, he played my father. In that film, I was his son, but I'm not his son. I'm not Irrfan's family. And he has a family. He has 2 wonderful sons. But yet there's something that Irrfan has fathered in me, you know, and that there is no denying that, because he has constantly reminded me to the last messages that I have from him to embrace being odd and embrace the fact that I'll never fit in, you know. And he said, like, he's told me so many times, stop being a Meena Kumari, that about the mainstream being so unfair to you and not getting your chances, and me saying you can only say that because you have done 100 films. and you will never know what it is to not have work. He's like, "Arey, please, yaar, I've also not had work." He said, the day you stop crying and the day you can really embrace being odd and that you will never fit in. And he's like, you know, all these things come back to you, and it's really true. He has definitely helped me embrace, you know, accept just being different and not fitting in, because he was that role model for me in many ways. And thanks to Kissa, it really,
you know, listening to all of you today, it really seems like Irrfan is here. And like you said, this point that, you know, we didn't know, we would say this is also him. But seeing him perform, he would actually help us understand who we are as well, which is why I think all of us have taken his going away so personally. Saibal, you want to?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think Anup several times spoke of Irrfan and he used the present tense. And that is what is great about Irrfan, because we still don't feel that he's gone away. And he'll never go away because, I mean, he communicated, you people acted with him, worked with him, and you were much closer to him than we can ever be. But he would address every member of the audience when he acted. There was something about him from the screen that it wasn't aura, it was just very ordinary human, you know, the ability to communicate and touch everybody. And every member in the audience would feel that Irrfan is talking to him or her. So, and that is what made Irrfan Khan. I mean, he was an actor, because actors pass on and we also move on and we start talking of them in the past tense. Irrfan is one actor I think none of us will ever be able to talk of in the past tense. And I think on that note, thank you very much for your time.
Really?
I could have gone on forever because, I mean, Irrfan.
If you don't mind, Saibal, could I just say one last word?
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because this is when he was in London, he was going through his treatment. And whenever I could go to London, if I could spend a week or 10 days with him, it was good. Those days were beautiful when we could be together. As I said, we spoke about many things. And one of the things that we spoke about at that time was he had a great interest in Sufism. He loved the music, he loved the poetry. And once I remember we spoke about the Mansur al-Halaj, who said, you know, Anal Haq. He's the man who called, who made that call for the first time. Anal Haq, Anal Haq. I am truth, I am the truth, I am the truth. And we were discussing that, Irrfan and I said, you know, Mansur al-Halaj, he was drawn and quartered and killed for saying that. But I said, let's try and understand it a little differently, Irrfan. I said, you know, he was saying, I am truth. And that is what this world is, you know. It is here, you and I, we are all here, this universe is here. And I said, if you, Irrfan, you say to yourself, I am Anal Haq, what you are really saying is that even when I'm gone, I'm here. You know, I'm as much a part of this universe as I have been when I'm here in some form. So when we talk about Irrfan, we are talking about a certain truth about a man. We're talking about a certain truth about a performer. And that truth, I think, is, you know, my understanding of Anal Haq and Irrfan. So that was the final thing I wanted to say. That is why I believe, yes, he's here.
Thank you, Anup, for that lovely wrap up. And thank you, Tisca, Tillotama, Rasika, and Adil, and of course, Stutee. Lovely.
Thank you. We couldn't have pulled this off without all of you. Thank you for taking out time. And
thank you all for making the effort to remember and continue to keep Irrfan alive in the hearts and minds of so many people who are actually suffering in a very personal way. I've had so many people talk about that. Thank you both so much for making the effort to bring all of us together. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. All you good people. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Take
stay
care.
safe and well. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Rasika. Thank you, Tillotama.
Bye.